Hey fellow introverts, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, The Introvert's Haven. I'm Megan, and this video is going to be all about romantic books that you can read after Valentine's Day. And I'm recording this after Valentine's Day because, to be honest, I did not think of this idea until Valentine's Day, and I didn't have time to film on Valentine's Day because I was doing something quite romantic myself. Get your mind out of the gutter. Not that. No, my fiance was working, and so I decided that I was going to go shopping for my wedding dress. And coincidentally, Valentine's Day was the only day in which everybody who I wanted to be there, or most everybody that I wanted to be there, could be. It was a little bit emotional because there were some people who I would have loved to have had there, but unfortunately, they weren't able to be, or they're no longer with us. One of which being my grandmother. I would have loved to have had her there yesterday, but unfortunately she passed away back in 2019. So I've had to go through a lot of major life events without her since 2019. No, she died in 2018. That's right, she died in 2018 because I graduated from college back in 2019, and I had really wanted her to be there, but unfortunately she did not live to get to see me graduate. She was with me in spirit, and in order to have her there with me yesterday, I did wear these earrings, which were her earrings back from when she was alive. And honestly, I'm really contemplating wearing these on my actual wedding day just to kind of have her there. So newsflash, I did not find the dress. I tried on, I don't even know how many, and I do have footage from some of them, and I will play those in this video after I get done talking about the books for anybody who is interested in seeing dresses that I tried on that didn't make the cut for various reasons. And you can see as I get up onto the podium pretty quickly whether or not I liked the dress or whether or not it was just a flat out no, absolutely not. So if all of this sounds good to you today, stick around. We'll talk about my favorite romantic books, and then we'll get to do very romantic activities. Also, the other reason that I did not get to film yesterday after I got home was because after we went dress shopping, I was in dire need of a margarita. So a group of us went to Chili's, and then after that, my friend invited me to go ice skating, and I did not take any footage while I was ice skating. However, I did get some pictures around the rink, so I'll share those. Now, let's get started. All right, so book number 1 is The Deal by Elle Kennedy, and it is the first book in the Off-Campus series, which follows hockey players and their girlfriends. So in this one, we're following Hannah and Garrett, and they meet in, I can't remember if it's at a party or at a class, but they realize that they're taking the same class together. And Hannah is doing very well in this class, and Garrett is not. But in order for Garrett to continue to play hockey, he has to do well in the class, and so he decides that he is going to ask for Hannah's help to pass it. Now, Hannah, she doesn't need to help him. She does have a crush on this other guy, and I don't remember his name because, like I said, I think I read this back in like 2020. Garrett decides that he will help her to attract this guy that she's interested in if he will help her to pass this class. It follows a fake dating trope, and after they have one night where things aren't so fake, Garrett decides that he wants to make it real, and he really wants her, and he now has to make her fall for him and want to ditch this other guy that she was interested in. It was really cool. I really enjoyed it. It was a fun college story. Yeah, the others were good as well, but honestly, this one was my favorite out of the series. Okay, book number 2 is The Selection by Kierra, and this is also part of a series. This is book 1 out of 3, and then they did do 2 other books that follow like years later, the main character's child or daughter. So this story follows America, and America lives in a society that is a caste system, and America has fallen in love with somebody who is in a lower caste, but unfortunately it is not popular to go down in society. But at the same time, like if she was to marry him, it's not like he would move up. It would be her moving down. And she gets put into this selection. And basically what this is a competition sort of to see who can win the prince's heart. And so that would take her basically from rags to riches. And she would get to marry the prince if she ends up winning his heart. The only problem is she wants no part of it. She's not interested. She is in love with Aspen. And while you are in the selection, you're given money as you keep going through. And the further you get, the more money that you get. And her family could really use this money. And so she goes into it with, I'm not interested in this guy, but we need the money. So I'll play along and see how far I can get in it just to try to help my family out. Her plan was to go back to Aspen at the end of it and marry down. But then they meet and start to develop feelings for each other. And it makes her kind of question her whole future and whether Aspen's really the one for her after all, or whether it's Prince Maxon. It's an oldie, but it's a good one. Okay, next up is An Offer from a Gentleman from Julia Quinn. This is the second, I believe, book in the Bridgerton series. I've only read 3 out of them, and I'm not even sure how many is in this series, but the first 3 that I've read, I have liked them all. This one just happens to be my favorite one thus far. It's a Cinderella story, and it is following Sophie. And Sophie does not have the nicest stepmother, as the Cinderella stories go. And she, more than anything, just wants to go to a ball, not because she's looking for love, but she just wants to go. She wants to experience what it's like to feel like a princess for the day and get done up. And the best ball in town is Lady Bridgerton's. And so she ends up getting dressed up. It is a masked ball. And so she ends up getting dressed up and going to this ball where she meets Benedict. Her and Benedict immediately hit it off, and he is absolutely enwrathed in this woman. He doesn't know who she is, doesn't even know her name. Again, this is a masked ball, so he doesn't even know what she really looks like. But they have phenomenal chemistry, and once the end of the night approaches, she takes off before he gets to find out who she actually is. And he becomes obsessed with trying to figure out who this woman is, because this is the woman he is like, I want to marry this woman. However, after she takes off, he cannot find her. So one night he ends up going to, I don't know if it's a party or a bar or what it is, but he ends up having to rescue a maid from a compromising situation. He ends up taking her home and says, hey, you can be a maid for my family, it's fine. But he's very drawn to her, and she's pretty smitten with him as well. And so he has to kind of decide, do I want the lady in the mask that I've dreamt about for so long, that I've been so fixated on, or do I maybe abandon that altogether and go for somebody who is a little bit below my station? He ends up falling hard for this maid. And it was just a really beautiful story. The writing was really, really beautiful. I loved it. That so far, like I said, this is my favorite book out of the Bridgerton series that I've read. I know it's the 3rd book in the series. Do with that as you will, but I don't think it's going to hurt anything if you read this one out of order. Okay, the next one is a fantasy, and it is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. This is also part of a series. I'll be honest, I was not a super great fan of the 2nd book, but I loved this first one. So this follows Louise and Reed. And Louise is a witch, and she is the daughter of one of the most powerful witches, or is the most powerful witch. She's like the head witch in this society. And Reed is a witch hunter, and they find themselves in a compromising situation, which forces them to have to get married. And it's so funny, like the banter between them is so good, because she is just a force to be reckoned with. She is going to do what she wants, when she wants, and she's pretty uncontrollable, and he is very prim and proper and really wants things to be a certain way, and we have to do things the right way and by, society standards, and that is not her. And the banter between them is so funny. It's so good. Hey, editing Megan here. I forgot to add. So she is fully aware that he is a witch hunter, but he is not aware that she is a witch. And as they're falling in love, one of the things that she's struggling with throughout the novel is, would he still love her regardless if he knew who she really was? And basically it's just a story about them being forced into this marriage, but also there's some other societal things at play. This does take place back in the 1700s, so there's a little bit of historical stuff in there, but this was such a good book and I loved it. Okay, these last two books, I will warn, are very spicy. So just keep that in mind going into it. So the first one is The Banker, and this is by Penelope Sky. This was also one of my favorite books the year that I read it. I read this book in one sitting, immediately went and bought the other two in the series. The other two were just as good as this one. I ate them up. So this book follows a girl named Sienna, and Sienna comes from a family of mobsters, and she wants no part of it. She has seen the mob life absolutely tear parts of her family apart. Her mother is dead as a result of it, and she doesn't want any part of it. So she works as, I don't know if she's an art collector or historian, but she works closely with art. And she has decided that that's what she's going to dedicate her life to, until one day she ends up getting her house broken into by a rival mobster, and he ends up telling her that he has her father, and if she does not play into his plan, then they are going to kill her father. Now, she does not like what her father has done. She does not like the activity that he's involved in, but it's still her dad, and there is a really big sense of family loyalty in this book. So she decides that she's going to help with this impossible task. And what is this task, you may ask? She has to go after the number one mobster that essentially is a banker for the underground illicit world. So he loans money to people, mobs, and to do very terrible things with human trafficking, guns, drugs, you name it. He'll front the money for it. And he's a very, very powerful man. And a lot of the mobsters don't like the fact that he has gotten to be quite as powerful as he is. So they decide that they want to take him out. But as you can imagine, he is very heavily armed and guarded. And it's not easy to just go in there and take this man out. And if they are caught, it is certain death for anybody who is involved. So they decide that they are going to use Sienna to attract this man, get him on his own, and then this rival gang will come in and take him out, and then they will let her father go. If she is successful, that is how it will go down. If she is not and she is caught, it will be certain, not just death, it will be like torturous death for her if Cato figures out what she's doing. But they end up falling in love. She feels very torn between the loyalty to her family and the loyalty to the man that she's falling in love with. And the last book is Broken by Elle Drake. And this is, you guessed it, also part of a series. This whole series was also fantastic. It was, I think, 3 books. So I guess technically a trilogy, not a series, but whatever. And this book is following Savannah. And Savannah is the daughter of a New York City mayor. She ends up getting kidnapped by this group and they treat her terribly. They beat her, they starve her, and she's just treated very animalistic almost. And one night she ends up getting rescued by a group of special forces from the US Army, and they take her back to a safe house and tell her she has to stay with them until they end up catching the assailants, because in the midst of them trying to rescue her, her assailants got free. And if she is to go back to New York, she's free to do it, but her assailants are going to catch her, and more than likely once they catch her, she's not going to get free a second time. So she decides that she's going to stay with this special forces group. She ends up falling for the head officer, who is Cole. And it's their love story. It's also a story about her healing from this very traumatic thing that has happened to her. It was very, military romance, and just, it sounds very traumatic as I talk about it. And there's definitely like trigger warnings for sure, but it's very much a love story. All right, and that is all of the love stories that I'm going to talk about today. If you want to extend Valentine's Day a little bit further, go ahead and pick one of these up. They're also really great for spring. I feel like romance is very spring-like, especially for me, the Bridgerton books. Those are just like quintessential spring for me. I don't know why, but I've been saving the subsequent books in the series for this spring for that reason. If you're only here for the book part, that is all I have for you. If you'd like to take a peek at some of these wedding dresses that I went and tried on but didn't end up falling in love with for one reason or another, stay tuned.
Oh, God, no. Okay.
Oh,
Let me know the rate.
Oh.
All right, I'm curious, what did you guys think of these dresses? I liked certain parts of them and didn't like other parts of them. And I was very surprised by some of the things that I ended up really loving and some of the things that I absolutely thought that I would like and just did not like in person. So I'm going again this week, I think on Tuesday. And hopefully then I'll be able to find my dream dress and get it ordered and we'll go from there. But if not, that's okay. I don't want to settle. That's my biggest thing is I've been told by everybody not to settle and I am not going to. I know that my perfect dress is out there and I just need to find it. Well, some of the things that I really liked in these, I really loved the deep plunge dresses. I don't know, I never thought I would want that or like that, but I thought they looked so good on me. I really, really liked those. I also really liked the A-lines that I tried on, and I'm undecided. So I've always thought that I wanted sleeves, like long sleeves. But the problem was with both of these dresses was one dress, the sleeves were way too tight. And so I couldn't really get a good look at how it would really truly look on me. And the other one was so big that also I couldn't get a good feel for how these sleeves would actually look. So I think that's where I want to start, but I'm also really into this like Beauty and the Beast. I don't know what you call it, but like the off the shoulder sleeve situation. I don't think I like the dresses where there's nothing on my arms. I really think I want something there. It's just very timeless. It's very romantic, I think. I also really, really love lace, but I want lace all over. I do not want lace just at the top and then plain at the bottom. I've also figured out I don't like sheaths. I have a tummy and I have been working diligently to get that tummy a little smaller, not just for wedding reasons, but for health reasons too. But I just was not a fan. And especially like the fit and flare where it's really, really tight. I was like, yeah, you could see it like immediately out of my mouth in those videos. I was like, nope, that's not it. This is not gonna work. So it gives me good ideas for what to look for when I go this week. And like I said, hopefully, I really, really hope that I can find my dress this week, cement it down, and continue on with the next phase of wedding planning. But until next time, thank you so much for watching, especially if you stuck around for the dress scenes. Please be nice in the comments. I know I don't look fabulous in every one of those dresses, hence why I did not buy any of them. But I hope all of you have a really, really great day, and I hope you all had a fabulous Valentine's Day, whether you were spending it alone, whether you were spending it with pets, your significant other, your husband, your friends, what have you. Unfortunately, I didn't get to spend it with my fiance as he had to work, but I was absolutely surrounded by the best people and got so much love on that day from some of the most strong women that I have in my life. And I'm so thankful that every one of them was there with me. Have a great day, guys.